Probably the biggest group of people that made the biggest impacts, our student body. And just on a personal note, I just hope that everybody can come out Saturday and hopefully enjoy another good Big 12 game. We're playing a great opponent. TCU's won their last 4 games. There's not a hotter team in college basketball than TCU right now. And then just to pay respect for these 5 seniors. They've done a lot for the program. I think the story's still unwritten. We'll see what happens here in March, but I know Zach and these other guys, it's their last home game, so we just invite everybody to come out and be a part of it.
All right, we'll take questions for Zach. We'll start in the front with Carlos.
Zach, what was it like just to get back on the court? I know you put in a lot of hours just to get back, so what was that like?
Man, it was just a great feeling to get back out there. Pre-game, I was pretty excited to get back out there.
I guess for you, was it kind of different not to be on that scooter, and I guess what was that like just to kind of be able to walk around and just shoot around and all that stuff?
It felt great being able to walk around, shoot around. I mean, the scooter was fun, but it wasn't any fun.
I guess for you, just from a basketball perspective, I guess how did you feel after those 22 minutes, and I guess what was it like just to kind of just be out there and kind of help your guys?
I was pretty tired, but it was great being able to get back out there and just trying to help.
For you, Zach, what do you think it is here, this week and the couple weeks moving forward? What do you think the things that you really need to focus on to try to kind of get back in your groove and be yourself again?
Just playing my part and getting a rhythm offensively and playing as hard as I can on the defensive end.
You've been here 4 years, man, and Saturday's your senior day, and Keenan's and Justin's and Naeem's and Tommy's. Just what's it feel like, knowing this is the last time you'll get to go out there on that floor and just kind of reminiscing on these last 4 years?
Man, I just feel like it came extremely quick. I'm excited to play this last game in front of Raider Nation.
I guess just on that line, I mean, did you feel like you were going to come back, and I guess how tough was it, or were you told that you may not come back, and I guess what was that kind of, I guess, rehab like for you, knowing that if you were going to come back or you didn't?
I was told there was a chance that I wouldn't be able to come back, but I was pretty confident with the training staff that we have that there was a good chance that I would come back, and I'm appreciative of all the work that they put me through.
Can you speak a little more to that? I talked with Coach Riley a couple weeks ago about him still being able to work you out. What were some of the things you were able to do that allowed you to go ahead and come back this year?
Well, I was still able to maintain upper body workouts and stuff like that, and a lot of rehab on my foot, just doing the best I can to get back out there on the court.
Coach, not Coach, whenever you see Zach, like Coach has always talked about building the program and whatnot, whenever you've seen that over your four years, but culminate with Kansas this last week and with how crazy it was and loud, what does that mean for you as a player who's been here that whole time?
Man, it was great going out there and seeing everyone out there at the game. It's very different than when we got here, and it's just I'm glad the program's built to where it's been.
I guess just for you, I know you're going to probably get asked this a lot, but has it hit you that it's going to be your last home game, or I guess do you feel it's going to hit you at another time? Because I know it's going to be a different type of feel where you're going to have your family, friends there, and kind of all that.
I mean, I've thought about it numerous times, but I'm not really sure if it's hit me. I'm just excited for the moment.
What's it like to celebrate with Keenan and obviously Justin and Norrance to a point, because I know he's got the medical red shirt, but what's it like just to know that you were here with those 4 guys and you guys kind of started something and you kind of seen kind of the end to it now?
Man, it's great. Great friendship we built here for 4 years. Just have a lot of camaraderie, and it's a blessing being able to play out there with those guys on the court.
Is there anything that you learned maybe that you hadn't seen in the past as a player, sitting off since you were injured? I know I've talked with a lot of athletes before who said they saw maybe a thing here or there when they were injured that maybe they didn't see kind of as a player when they were actually playing.
There were some things I learned, just understanding the game flow, what we need and when we need a big stop or when we need a big bucket.
Anything else for Zach?
Or several weeks ago.
I think, after the season it'll be time to reflect, but respect the question. I think when I think of Zach, I think of obviously a great talent. He's a guy that I think has a chance to play in the NBA one day because of his athleticism and his skill. So disappointing for so many reasons this year, but I just think he was about to have a really special season. Put a lot of time in on his ball handling and his passing. Our plan for him this year was to play him on the perimeter a lot more. But I think when I think back to Zach, I'll think about how hard he worked to develop his game. He had a great summer last year when he kind of tested the NBA waters, came back with a great attitude. Personally, he's one of my favorite players. He's just a truth teller to his core. Guy's never lied to me one time in 2 years. Hey, Zach, did you go to class today? No, I didn't, Coach. It's just great, sense of just he's just kind of my kind of guy. Zach, you're going to have to run tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. I understand, Coach. So he's just a truth teller. He's a great person. His mom and dad, both with Arkansas Little Rock, where I coached, so we always had kind of a connection. I remember sitting in his living room, 24 hours after getting the job, trying to basically re-recruit him to come back here. In today's college basketball, there's all sorts of tampering things going on, so I wasn't naive. But, Zach gave us a chance pretty early on, gave me his word he's going to come back. And I think he was one of the leaders that decided he was going to come back. And then after that, I think Zach and Justin Norrance, those guys kind of followed suit. But probably one of my all-time favorite players ever coached because of his personality, his work ethic, his talent, and then how he's overcome this injury. Guys, this wasn't easy. This wasn't supposed to happen. Zach was pretty humble in his assessment of that, but, I was told pretty point blank not to expect him to come back. But Zach, almost always, day 2, day 5, week 3, he's kind of had this gleam in his eye, and he kept telling me, Coach, I'm playing. I don't care what these guys say, I'm playing. And then Chris Williams did a great job with him. I mean, it's easy the first couple of days to kind of be emotional and rehab, but then when it starts hitting week 3 and 4 and we're playing and other guys are banged up, for Chris Williams to spend the time and effort that he did with Zach, I mean, really, Chris should be in the book as well.
I guess in terms of the other seniors as well, obviously it's going to be an emotional game for them. 3 of them have been here for those 4 years as well, kind of built the program. I guess for the senior class this year, I know last year you were big on the senior class as well. I guess what does the senior class kind of display to you, or how will you remember them, if you can answer that?
Yeah, well, every team in college basketball is going to go as far as the seniors take them. You can have special younger players, which we obviously do. With Culver and Z being at the top of that list. But, those seniors, those are the guys that lead it. I mean, I think that everyone understands, but if you don't, I'll tell you again. I mean, the reason why Culver and Z are having these kinds of seasons and other guys is because, like, Justin Gray and Zach and Norrance and Keenan and Naeem and Tommy are the leaders. So these guys have done a lot. You look at the program where they were the day they got here, respectively, and where it is now. You got to give those guys a lot of credit. And I think, with the core guys that endured the coaching change and really bought in with Justin and Zach and Keenan, those guys, their story is well-deserved. But then I think you got to talk a lot about Naeem, too. Naeem was the first guy that signed with us. He was the first guy that I recruited personally. Tried to get him to come to Little Rock, but we knew he was going to play at a higher level, and had it set up for him to probably come to UNLV, and then he just stayed loyal here as well. This guy was a junior college All-American. And he's had a great career here. He really has. You look at what he did last year, basically being our second or third best player at times, and this year he's played well. He's playing great down the stretch too. His last 4 or 5 games are about as high as you can play at this level. So, and then with Tommy, a lot of respect for him. And when we've played our best this year, it's when Tommy has played really good along with Norrance. So a lot of basketball left. I know Senior Day brings these questions, but I look forward to watching these guys have a great March.
With Naeem, I'm back on him. Obviously, he has that big night on Monday night there, and like you said, he's had a really good last 4 or 5 games here. Do you think maybe that's something you hope just kind of carries over for him and as you get into March, especially with Keenan just trying to get back to being himself too?
Yeah, I think so. I think Naeem's really dialed in. The other night at West Virginia, he had to do a lot of things offensively, be really aggressive to kind of keep us in the game and try to get us back in the game, and he did that. And now I'm confident he'll go back to playing. I always want Naeem to be aggressive, but he's got to come back and start playing within the team concept with this game. Each game's different. But I think Naeem set himself up, and as we recruit junior college players in the future, Naeem will be the first person we point towards. Here's a guy that got better in his career. Here's a guy that's going to graduate on time. He's going to get his degree in May. And a lot of work went into that. I think his mom and Rocky understand that as well. But no, Naeem, I like Naeem. I've coached him really hard. Probably as hard as I've ever coached anybody, and he's really responded. And there's nobody I'm looking forward to taking the court with in March, whether it be Senior Day, Big 12 tournament or the NCAA tournament than Naeem. I believe in Naeem. I'm really appreciative of everything he's done in this program.
Want to ask you, too, if you can give us an update on Justin and where things are at with him for possibly playing on Saturday.
Yeah, just continuing to go through the concussion protocol. Things are looking good. He's better. There's no doubt. But, whether he'll play on Saturday, we're just still continuing to look at the time frame. Ultimately, that's the doctor's decision and trainer's decision, not mine. But just answering the question, by all indications, it looks like Justin's improving.
Coach, have you been able to pinpoint reasons for the slow starts the last two games?
I'd have to think back, Jeff. West Virginia, we had 4 great shots to start the game. Ball just didn't go in. We made a couple of defensive mistakes, so just a combination of a great start by them. It didn't need to get to 16-0. We used 2 timeouts. It should have been, 14-8, 14-6, somewhere in there. It would have been manageable. Wasn't lack of effort. It was just ball didn't go in on offense. And obviously, we played a little bit, shorthanded. When you're missing Keenan and Zach and Justin, it is what it is. That's for y'all to write about. And then the Kansas game, just a lot of adrenaline in that game. It's the crowd and all. I know that thing started off like 8-0. I think 2 defensive mistakes. But Kansas made a play. And then, again, we had some good offensive possessions. First time Zach's touched the ball in months. He steps out of bounds, so I had no problem with that. He was trying to be aggressive. But we did a great job in that Kansas game getting back in the game, as well as we did at West Virginia. I think we cut it to 4 or 5 points in the second half. So we got to figure out a way to try to get off to a better start.
You mentioned Justin already, but with Zach and Keenan, I guess – how available are they going to be? You expect them to be full go Saturday or not?
Full go in terms of willingness and wanting to help the team and being out there and being available. We hope so. 100% with their bodies, no. But there's a lot of players in college basketball right now that are that way. So, it's not an excuse. Anybody that knows us, knows our players, knows our culture, but just respectfully answering y'all's questions. We've got some guys that are just not playing at 100%, but you just got to figure out a way your team has to overcome that. And we've done that. We had a nice Big 12 run, kind of a historic run in terms of winning 7 straight, putting ourselves in a position where we were competing for the championship late in February, and that was without Zach. And so now we just got to figure out a way to compete a little bit with Keenan's injury and Justin playing or maybe not playing.
You talked about Norris and Tommy some. How do you get those guys going? Because it does seem like when they're playing well, y'all are really tough to beat. How do you do that from a coaching staff's perspective?
I think it'd be a fair question for those guys too. From our point of view, we try to put them in positions to be aggressive. We have a lot of confidence in them. Those 2 guys are going to get their minutes every game. I don't know. It's something we've really tried to work on. I know that when those guys are dialed in defensively, it translates to their offense. I know when they're aggressive on offense, they tend to play better basketball. So, and both of them have done a lot of good things. I think when Norris is right, he's one of the better bigs in this league. He can go toe to toe with a Kanati from West Virginia and Azubuike from Kansas. He's done this. Just Norris needs to find a different level of consistency, and part of that's the coaching staff's responsibility too. So we're all in this together. And then Tommy, we all know how talented Tommy is when he's stretching the floor, hitting shots, when he's scoring inside. He's one of the best passers on our team. And then defensively, he's a smart guy. Tommy has a high ceiling and IQ. I think both guys will play professional basketball, but we need them to find a different rhythm and a different level in March for us to do the things we all want to do.
All right, Coach, with a league this good that you've talked about all year, so many games come down to one or 2 possessions. So even though a few haven't gone your way here late, it still feels like this team is playing as well as they have really at any point in the year, between Culver scoring a season high the other night, coming down to 2 points against Kansas. Is that something you're still encouraged that even though some of the outcomes recently haven't been what you need, it still feels like because this league is so competitive and you've been right there, you're still playing as well as you have really all year?
Yeah, me personally, I'm as encouraged as ever. I have so much respect for these guys to overcome the kind of adversity and to be in the games and compete. Guys, I think Kansas is probably going to be a number 1 seed in the tournament. They're a team that's wired and built to win the whole thing. and we lose by a basket on our home floor with Keenan not full speed. Zach hadn't practiced in a couple months, and Justin doesn't play in the game. So, yeah, I've never been more positive with our team. I love these guys. I think they fight. I think they compete. We just got to try to find another level. But that's what March is. Like, if you're playing really well, you're trying to find another level. If you've kind of hit a skid, March is a new beginning. This is what makes our sport so unique. And March for us starts on Saturday against TCU on Senior Day. But, yeah, me personally, I'm about as positive as I've ever been coaching these guys because I know I'm getting extreme effort, and I know I'm getting a level of unselfishness that a lot of teams around the program don't have. Not a day goes by that somebody doesn't call me that knows basketball that says your guys are playing harder than anybody in college basketball, and I agree. I think we really compete, and so now we just got to try to catch a couple breaks.